Hey guys, welcome back to the video today. And before I get into this video, I definitely want to give a trigger warning because this video is about child abuse, sexual abuse. So I want to make sure I give that warning just in case anyone gets triggered. Now, this mother has decided to share this information with her daughter's abuse, and her daughter was just 4 years old. But because of their relationship and because this mother kept an eye out on her daughter for things like this, she was able to detect this when it happened to her daughter. It's a very hurtful thing, and it was a very hurtful thing coming from the person who did the abuse as well as to the person that was abused and the mother and father. You can imagine that it just hurt relationships. And because the mother explains everything quite well, I don't want to go too much into it. But you just have to imagine that some families, they call it generational curses. But in some families, they hide the abuse, whether it's an older relative that's supporting most of the family, or whether they just have this great respect for an elder in the family that says, let's keep this quiet within the family. But this does go on. So after this disclaimer, let's get right into the video. Remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe.
Yeah. I found out my dad was molesting my 4-year-old daughter. I'm not doing these for attention, for clout, for none of that. If I can tell my story and help somebody else, that's what I'm doing. First thing I want to say is pay attention to your kids. Your girls, your boys, pay attention. It was the smallest thing that brought everything to light. Something that I could have absolutely overlooked, and I did not. Because I pay attention to my child, I look at everything. My dad lived about 2 hours from us. I had just finished school and I was about to start my extern. My husband worked during the day and I needed somebody to watch my daughter while I did my extern because she wasn't in school at the time. One day, my husband was about to drop me off at my extern. It was like 8 in the morning. My daughter was in our room because my dad was in her room. So my baby was in the bed asleep. My husband and I were leaving the house. And we were outside, I want to say maybe 30 to 45 seconds. Because my husband, when we got in the car, he realized that he left something. And he got up to go in the house. And when he got to our bedroom door, my dad was at the door. Mind you, my baby's in there sleep. It's like 8 in the morning. Before we left out the house, we told him that she was sleeping. That was weird to me, but then again, you couldn't tell him nothing about his grandchild. He loved his grandchild. I was thinking, like maybe she was whining or something and he went to check on her, but my husband. Another time, it was like my second or third day of my extern. My baby was playing in there with him. And she came out and she was just standing in the living room. And I could see his shadow in the hallway, like with his hand, he was like beckoning her to come back to where he was, but he would never say it out loud, which was weird because it just called her name. But it was like he was silently beckoning her, like he didn't want us to hear or see that he was calling her in the back where he was. Okay. After that, I don't know. I think it was, I wasn't even a week into my extern when we found this out. Like, okay, he was doing the weird stuff, just weird stuff. And mind y'all, like I said, I lived with my dad my whole life. He got a bunch of nieces, a bunch of granddaughters. Everybody loved him, man. Ain't nobody ever said nothing out the way about him. No rumors. He ain't never did nothing to nobody. Like, he was just a host of fun. Everybody loved him. Like, that's why I'm shocked and hurt, like, to this day. Like, it still bothers me every day. But anyways, so one day, my baby, she came in there, like, she was still, like, at night, she had, like, she was, at the time, she was still, like, with the bed. So, she had on a pull-up because it was nighttime and she was getting ready to go to bed. So, she lay out on the couch and she put her hand in her pull-up. So, red flag, flag on the plate, I don't play it. Why your hands in your pull-up? But of course, I was like, babe, why you got your hand right there? Like, what's wrong? Where you get that from? Somebody did that to you? I'm asking questions. She was like, yes. So, I already know. When you questioning a child, you do not say a name. Like, you don't say nobody's name because, you know, that child can just go with whatever you're saying. So I'm just like, somebody did that to you? I didn't say no name. Mind you, the only men in the house is my husband and my dad. And it could have been a woman. I got a bunch of cousins, whatever. It could have been a woman. So my husband, my dad, and sometimes my brother come around. But yeah, at the time it was just us three in the house. So I'm like, somebody did that to you? And she's like, yeah. So I don't want to say her name. So I'm like, okay, baby, who did that? She was like, Papa. That's what she called my dad. I'm like, Papa, you know, I'm trying to get some clarity. Papa changed you. Papa, what, wiped you? Took you a bath? I can't say exactly what it was that she did. She showed me what he did. And she also said something that he did. And my heart just dropped, like, dropped. I was crying so bad. I told my husband and my dad got into an altercation. And yeah, I called my auntie. My auntie lived down the street from me, and I told her, and she was like, "Oh, I just don't believe he did that. I don't believe." Mind you, this my auntie on my mama's side. She was like, "I don't believe." My husband and my dad got into an altercation, and yeah, I called my auntie. My auntie lived down the street from me, and I told her, and she was like, "Oh, I just don't believe he did that. I don't believe." Mind you, this my auntie on my mama's side. She was like, "I don't believe he did that." I called my auntie. My auntie was a police at the time in the town that we lived in. So, and she stayed right down the street. So naturally, I'm gonna call my auntie. I called my auntie. She came over. And I don't know if it was because I had just broke down crying or because my husband and my dad had just had a argument and was yelling. But when my auntie started asking my baby questions, she would not answer the questions. And my auntie literally told me right there in my face, like, okay, I don't believe this. And it's my auntie might see this. Auntie no hard feelings, but yeah, that hurt me. Anyways, so I'm getting emotional, y'all. Hold up. Okay, so my auntie said she didn't believe it and told me to take my baby to the hospital, which I was gonna do anyway. I didn't see anything, but I still wanted to take her to get checked up. So we took her to the hospital. When the doctor came in, she told us off jump, like, usually you don't find no type of physical evidence with cases like that. But my baby ended up telling the doctor the same thing that she told us. And they called, okay, we went to the hospital in Memphis because it's the closest hospital to the children's hospital in Memphis. It's the closest children's hospital near us, even though we stay in Mississippi. So they ended up calling the police from Mississippi because that's where we lived to the hospital in Memphis. And the police that call, you know, that's the station that my auntie work in. So, they came, took our statements or whatever, and the doctor had just told us that she saw something, and it could have came from constipation, like some strain with constipation, or it could have came from something else. And they could have taken her somewhere else and did an invasive testing, but it wasn't recommended. So I told my auntie that, and like I said, the woman wasn't sure where it came from, and I didn't want to do the invasive testing, so of course that's not going in nobody's paperwork or whatever. So my auntie was getting access to the files or whatever. So she called, like, talking about she didn't see anything about, you know, what I had just said. Of course you don't see it, and we don't even know if that's where it came from, you know. That upset me so bad because you don't believe her, and now you looking at files talking about what you don't see. So anyways, they made it to where my auntie couldn't even access those files anymore because I was so upset. And nobody, hardly nobody, well, at first everybody was like, oh, that's so sad, and he wrong for that. But a year later, everybody his best friend, y'all. Everybody his best friend. Everybody always talk to him, and he miss y'all, and this, that, the third. Y'all, my family, my mama people. Oh, you don't think she got that off YouTube? What's YouTube? Yeah, that is so hurtful. For people to doubt your child, that's hurtful. But I understand a little bit because of his character. Like I said, we all grew up together. My cousins, I got plenty of girl cousins. He got plenty of granddaughters, nieces. He never did this to none of us. None of us, y'all. He never made us feel uncomfortable in no type of way. My mom died when I was 14 years old. I lived with my dad my whole life. He got full custody of me. My dad never made me feel uncomfortable. He never did nothing to me. Never said nothing to me out the way. But the way my daughter said what she said, the way she demonstrated what he did to her, I would be a fool to deny my child. I would be a fool to just sweep that under the rug and be like, oh, she 4 years old. She don't know what she's talking about. That came off YouTube. Y'all, these folks set up an interrogation for my baby 2 weeks after this incident happened. And I thought, it's 2 weeks later, my baby ain't gonna remember that. Y'all, when there's some truth to what your child is saying, one thing about it, and when you lie, or when you being untruthful, you gotta, you know, it's hard to remember. But 2 weeks later, my 4-year-old went into the interrogation room with the police and CPS worker and the child therapist and repeated the same thing. She even told them stuff that she didn't even tell us because she was afraid to tell us. 45-minute long interrogations 2 weeks later. She did what needed to be done. That's the exact thing that the CPS worker said to me when they came out of their room. She was like, she did a good job. She said what needed to be said. They sent that tape over to a grand jury or something like that, y'all. That was a year ago. I don't know what's going on. So, I've been messed up. I can't lie. My dad was literally all I had. All I had. My best friend, literally. So, the fact that he did this to us, and I gotta sit up here a whole year later and my baby comes to me and she say she miss her papa. My baby wants to see him. She wants to go to his house. She want to know why he didn't just apologize. She said, Mama, why didn't we just let him apologize? Why didn't we do that in the first place? Why he couldn't apologize like a real friend do? I had to explain to her, it don't work like that, baby. What he did, that's not right. You can't just let somebody do that to you and forgive them. She don't understand. And I'm fighting with this every day because not only did this happen to my child, but I lost my best friend in the midst of that. Because if you know me, you know that my dad was literally my best friend. I'm talking about on the phone 4 and 5 times a day. Like, that's what kind of bond we had. And people want to know, like, why I be so angry at my family. Like, why wouldn't I be? I'm getting emotional. I gotta go.
This is a footnote. If a child or a woman trusts you enough to tell you that someone is abusing them, do not go back to the abuser and share that information with them. If you want to share that information with them, don't.